Hey guys, thank you for watching this episode of the Life Taco podcast. If you enjoy it, please make sure that you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe so that you see future content. I'm going to have on a wide variety of guests, including people from all different walks of life. Like a good taco, this podcast is going to have layers. Politics, spirituality, entertainment, you're not going to want to miss it. You started real young when you started liking wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like anybody else, around 5, 6 years old, become enamored by it. You see it for the first time ever. And, it's something that just kind of sticks with you. It becomes part of you. And, everybody says I'm going to be a pro wrestler when they're 5 or 6 years old, but it's how many people actually, make that come to fruition and let that expand into what they actually do for a profession. So, I'm one of the few. I'm a rare breed to actually love it when I was a kid and let that go all the way up and have a maturation process into where I'm an adult. So, it's just like anybody else, though.
Yeah, who were some of your favorites back then? I know when I was like 8 years old that the Macho Man caught me. Macho Man, Sting. I remember the first match I ever saw. Macho Man, Sting, and Luger versus Arn Anderson, Benoit, and Ric Flair.
Well, I mean, I'll ask you this. And if you've interviewed wrestlers and asked them this question, you kind of see a correlation in between who their favorite wrestler was and maybe the way that they present themselves today, right? There's a lot of influences that people will have, and they'll kind of not copy, but more or less, replicate and try and put their own spin on it. Who do you think that our young Richard was enamored by when I was, call it 1998 through 2002, when I was a young whippersnapper?
Gosh, I was thinking earlier, I'm like, who does he remind me of? And I thought of more like old school names, like a little bit like Ted DiBiase, maybe like IRS your gimmick a little bit. Rick Martel. I'm not really from '98 on. I'm kind of
Well, I'll just say for you, I was enamored by Kane and the Undertaker. That was always what I was into, right? I mean, as a young boy, that was kind of what I was enamored by. The pageantry and the colors and the larger than life superstars that were Kane and the Undertaker. And you might say like a Ted DiBiase, IRS. I'm not that old, by the way, where I would have been a kid watching them, but yeah, it was more or less them. I never really let people who I idolized when I was young dictate what I'm going to do for me personally, because I know what type of wrestler and performer that I am. I can't let, who I admired when I was young, creep into that.
yeah, be like me trying to be Macho Man.
Yeah, I don't think that will work.
Nope. So your marketing degree that you mentioned, was that just like a fallback plan in case wrestling didn't work, or was that to supplement along with, or what?
I think supplemental would be the best way to describe it. I mean, pro wrestling was always the goal, but I think that, well, I know. I mean, if you enter this business with a little bit more maturity and expanded knowledge, and you have a background in something like a marketing or any type of business degree, I only think that's going to make you progress a lot faster. It's going to push you forward. It's going to make you understand the business more, and that's wildly important. It is so important, because you're only in the ring for 10 to 20, 30 minutes or so. How you conduct your business is the rest of your career, the rest of your work, right? So I went to school knowing that A, this is going to be the smart thing for me to do, and B, it's only going to enhance my career.
How have you used it in your career so far?
Well, I mean, as a degree in marketing, it's branding, it's understanding the consumers, understanding what the consumers look for in a wrestler in today's day and age. It's putting out fantastic merchandise that you can get right now on MLWshop.com. Just go in there and search Richard Holliday. I have other great designs. There's a cheap plug. That's marketing right there, right? You pick and choose your spots to plug yourself. That is marketing. I just used it. I just used my degree right here on your show.
Yeah, and they can also get the coffee mug that I mentioned earlier there.
Absolutely. I've already had like 5 cups today, so I'm trying to, it's getting a little late right now. So I would normally be having a nice cup of Dynasty coffee, but I do have to go to bed eventually.
So was your family supportive of you getting into the wrestling business? Because you seemed like such a level-headed, like pragmatic guy, and then wrestling's kind of like most people view it as kind of like an outlandish kind of big dream to have.
Yeah, I think initially, nobody really finds success in pro wrestling off the rip. And, there are exceptions to that rule. But when you see the come up of somebody starting out in wrestling, it could really look like something you shouldn't do, right? Like if you go to an independent show and you're like, really, this is what you want to do? And you're like, just pump the brakes. It's going to get better. So like you do those small shows when you first start and your family's like, what are you doing? But then they see you on TV for Major League Wrestling. You're like, oh, okay, I know what you're doing now. So it's one of those things where people aren't really going to understand off the rip, but they will understand if you do eventually find success, which I have.
Yeah. So Paul Roma, Four Horsemen alumni, he was your trainer. How did you find him, and like how did you go about starting with him?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I was born in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut, and at the time there was really no pro wrestling school, at least that had any credibility. So I was doing my research, and I saw one in New York and one in Massachusetts, and I'm like, oh man, I have to drive just to train. Like, I understand, like, I got to drive to shows eventually, but man, like, just to train, I got to go 2 hours away. So I didn't really know if I was going to be able to do this, because I didn't know, what's going to be my outlet, what's going to be my avenue. And then lo and behold, Paul Roma opens up a school legitimately 2 minutes from my house, where I was living at the time. So it was kind of destiny, right? Like, it was kind of just like the universe saying, all right, Richard, you're going to be a pro wrestler and you're going to be one of the best. We're going to put the school right there for you. And I took full advantage of it. And it was operated by Paul Roma, who, to me, he was where people want to be, right? He was at the pinnacle of professional wrestling. So I want to get trained by somebody who was at the pinnacle so I can get to the pinnacle. So, Roma, for me, we have such a great relationship to this day. I still see him at least once a week. And, I couldn't be more thankful for that. Is Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling in East Haven, Connecticut, for any aspiring young pro wrestlers out there.
So were you a natural right away? Because you're so smooth in there, it's hard to imagine you not being, really.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, just take a look at my work. There's really no sloppiness. It's, I say it all the time. There's people who are meant to do this, and then there's people who force themselves to do this. And I wish a lot of the people that force themselves to do this would force themselves out of it, because it's not for everybody. Pro wrestling is not for everybody. Pro football is not for everybody. Pro baseball is not for everybody. So why is wrestling going to be different? And I've always viewed it that way, and I still view it that way. But for me personally, yes, 100% natural.
I love the bluntness. Like when they asked you about ECW, the ballroom or whatever, you're like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me performing there.
I'm not even trying to just say that. Like, it really meant nothing to me. I wasn't, ECW was not a part of me growing up. It was to others. A lot of other people were, it was like the coolest thing in the world to, walk into a bathroom and see a bunch of graffiti on the wall that says ECW. Like, for me, it was just another venue filled with consumers, right? The consumers in Philadelphia, it's a hot crowd. It's a fun crowd. I do like performing in front of Philadelphia, but that building, it's just another venue to me.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of ECW. I love WCW. And then I've watched a lot of NWA, like from the 80s, and I like MLW now, just because like the blend of everything. Like, I'm sorry.
You better like MLW.
Like the referees, they have like they're kind of taken seriously. The announcers aren't shilling a product or whatever during the matches. Like, just pretty much everything I like about wrestling, MLW has. So,
we do an excellent job. It's people want to view us as an alternative to the two major platforms out there right now. But I don't see anything not major about MLW. I mean, we are putting out some of the best product out there today. We have an incredibly talented roster, highlighted by, of course, the Dynasty, Hammerstone, and myself. And we give the consumer something different each and every week. And there's little nuances like that you just pointed out, like the referees. You like the referees of Major League Wrestling. Like, man, like you're even noticing the little things that we do really well. So, if you're a consumer watching this show, make sure you watch MLW. You type it in on YouTube. It's free. If you have it on DAZN, if you have a subscription to DAZN, we're on there. We're on Fubo Sports. We're on beIN Sports. A lot of eyeballs. So there's a lot of accessibility on MLW, which is fantastic, especially in today's climate.
Yeah, and it's only an hour. That's one of the good things to me, because like if I tried to watch WWE, it's like they want like 10 hours of your week or something. I'm like, this is crazy.
It's a full commitment, right? I mean, they are really wearing you down, and they're offering you a lot. Kudos to them. I mean, they're giving a lot of content out there, but I think that the art of making people want more has died, and they give you so much that you leave the table very full, and it's like the food was good, but I'm very full. I don't feel good right now. Whereas you really want to elicit a different response. You want to be like, wow, that food was amazing. I want more. Oh, wait, there's none left. I can have it next week, though. So, there's two different schools of thought, but I think MLW does it great. We give you an hour a week, and you're going to look forward to that hour every single week.
Yeah, and I like they call it fusion. There's a fusion of different styles and everything. And I also like that the championship belts look prestigious, like something you would want to own. It's not a spinner toy or something like that.
No, for sure. I mean, especially my IWA/MLW championship is really a beautiful championship. I actually bring it to the cleaners once a week just to get shined up and keep the leather up tight.
Yeah, so the IWA Caribbean Championship, I don't quite understand that. Like, they revived a previous championship, or I was looking up some of the history and I didn't quite understand.
Well, Savio Vega was the IWA Caribbean champion. And of course, he is an active member of the MLW roster, and he wanted to cross my path. So I am now the Caribbean champion, based upon my performance and, based upon everything that I've done within the company. I've earned that championship. So now it is more than the IWA Caribbean Championship. It's the IWA/MLW Caribbean Championship. And that's just me using my platform and using my marketing skills to boost this championship. And now, on social media, whenever I log into Twitter or Instagram, consumers are talking about the Caribbean Championship. This was just a Puerto Rican hunk of metal before I had it, but now I have it, and now people talk about it. They want more with it. I would argue, I am a tad biased, self-admitted, it is more talked about than the heavyweight championship. Tough to argue.
So, getting back to a little bit before you started with the MLW, so you debuted like 5 years ago, and has it been just kind of a straight shot to success? There's been no significant bumps in the road along the way?
No bumps in the road, I would say. I probably started a bit slow, a little slower than I intended to. And I don't think that it was really any circumstance. I just think it was just me maybe getting my footing. And once I got my footing, it was just on the up and up. I remember in a couple month period, I had been ranked by the PWI within for the first time ever. I had won the ECWA Super 8 Championship. I was the one to watch for PWI. I had appeared on MLW. I had got signed by MLW. And it was like literally in a few month period. And then from there, it just kind of took off for me.
It's crazy that slow for you is being on television within 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, people never get there. People never get on television. And I was able to do that, I think, around the 3-year mark, right? I've been with MLW for almost 2 years now. So it's been about 3 years. I made it onto consumers' television screens.
So how did your MLW contract happen? How did that come about?
Well, I had done 2 uncontracted matches, and I impressed Court Bauer and the powers that be so much that I think it was only about a week, maybe 6 days after my second uncontracted match, and they just said, "Hey, man, listen, you're an absolute star. We need you on the roster. We want to have you join the team." And, we did our negotiations. We did what we had to do. And I ended up putting pen to paper. And I felt like it was the best decision for me at the time. And I don't regret it at all. I don't regret it so much that I signed an extension with Major League Wrestling. And I extended my time there because I feel like there's so much to do. There's so much room for growth. I see this company doing big things in the marketplace in the next coming years. And I think we're going to be a lot more than an alternative. I think we're going to be a priority for consumers. And I fully intend on leading that ship and being synonymous with the brand.
Yeah, it was going up when COVID started, and that kind of put a damper on things for a while.
Yeah, COVID sucks.
So what's Court Bauer like? Do you have a lot of interaction with him?
Yeah, I have a lot of interaction with Court. I'm still mad at him for not recognizing me as a Caribbean champion, but I let that pass because he's the owner of the company. And at the end of the day, he signs my checks. So, but he is a bit of a visionary, in my opinion. I think he has a great vision for what pro wrestling should be. He does an excellent job encapsulating that and putting it onto the screen. Me and Court, we have a good relationship, and he trusts me at this point to just do what I do and to just be me. Because he knows you put me on the screen, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be one of the most talked about segments on the show. So that's why you notice, even when I don't have matches on an episode of Fusion, there's a lot of Richard. You'll see a lot of Richard.
Yeah, there's commercials and vignettes and stuff the entire episode, regardless. So what does your diet and exercise routine look like?
Oh man, for the longest time, I was doing the bro split of just going into the gym and doing, Monday chest, Tuesday back, Wednesday legs, Thursday shoulders, Friday arms, and it was so monotonous. That Hammerstone actually switched it up on me. And, because I used to go to the gym every single day. My body was really beat up. But I was just obsessed with going to the gym. I still am to a degree. But, he had recommended me doing, an upper body push day, an upper body pull day, a lower body day, and then taking an off day. So working out 3 out of every 4 days. And that right there has completely enhanced my recovery. And I actually think I've gotten significant gains. So I got to shout out my boy Hammer for that. In terms of diet, I eat clean. I enjoy clean foods. I like whole foods. I do not eat really anything out of a box or out of a bag, anything like that ever. It's a very clean diet, and you have to do that. This is a 24/7 thing being a pro wrestler. It's not just, Saturday night you throw on the trunks and you go out there. You got to be fully committed to this. Every decision I make is in reference to my career as a wrestler. If I decide to drink alcohol, I do fancy myself a drink or a cocktail every now or again, a nice glass of red wine. But I limit myself. I don't overdo it because I know, this is negative. This isn't great for my body. You have to live life in moderation, but, I always think, will this affect the way I look? And it could be a bit obsessive. It could be, deterring at times, but I find it very important, and that's why I say that wrestling's not for everybody, because part of the diet, it's not it's not cut out for everybody to be disciplined. Not necessarily a diet. I don't want people thinking that you have to be on a diet, but you have to be disciplined in what you eat.
Yeah. I've just recently started DDP yoga. And
yoga, I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, I think you're going to see some results from that.
yeah, and that's part of why I asked you about your diet plan. I was like, if he mentions anything that I should add in there, I'll do that. He's talking about cutting out gluten and GMOs and all kinds of stuff. So,
well, no, I don't do. I'm very carb conscious. I don't not eat carbs, but I time up my carbs, and I eat them at specific times of the day when they're going to be most beneficial to me. So you really have to understand when you're training, even what you're training that day. If it's just a light cardio day, you don't really need a lot of carbohydrates. If it's, a heavy leg day, well, then, you might have some more carbs throughout the day. So, carb manipulation is very important. I don't really do a lot of fat. If I do, it's obviously very healthy. And my protein is through the roof, in terms of, my body weight to my gram ratio.
So let's see. So you won was this the first major title that you've won, the MLW Tag Team Championship?
I would say that's the highest accolade I have won within the business so far. Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was great. I mean, to be the one to actually grab the championships, from the rafters and have that TV shot get right on me with both championships. I mean, that was the money shot. And I felt like that was maybe kind of my coming out party for Major League Wrestling. And then, teaming with Max was obviously great. We gelled together, tremendously. And, yeah, I mean, that tag team championship was a big part of my career. Yeah,
you saw the emotion. It looked real to me when you pulled down the belts and like you could see it on your face.
Yeah, 100%.
So, where are some places that you've traveled as a wrestler now? Like, I imagine you've been kind of all over in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling in the major markets is always fun. Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Nashville. Internationally, Mexico is always an experience. The Consumer Niños over there are definitely a bit different. I've had beer thrown on me, and they're a little reckless, to be honest with you. I kind of wish that they were behind a barricade. But traveling is a really fun part of pro wrestling. It allows me to see the country. It allows me to, what I like to do anytime I get into town is find a local coffee shop. I'll go on Yelp. I'll see what the #1 rated coffee shop is, and I'll kind of make sure to get out there and just experience that. I like to see the country through coffee. It's just a little thing I like to do before shows, and it allows it's good for my mental clarity as well.
How do you like your coffee? For our coffee enthusiasts?
Well, it depends. I mean, there are so many different ways to drink it. If I'm drinking coffee, I drink my coffee black. But, usually when I go to the coffee shops, what I'll do is I'll get a small black coffee because I want to see how their roast is. But then I'll also get an oat milk cortado. Cortados is like a equal parts steamed milk to espresso based drink. It's kind of like a very mini latte, if you will. But I like to get that. I really appreciate the coffee art that is on top of it typically. And to me, that's really the telltale sign of if a coffee shop is legit or not. And if they really are the #1 ranked on Yelp. If they deliver me a good cortado and a good black coffee, man, I'll be back.
So you've traveled around the country internationally. You've had coffee everywhere. Where is the #1 coffee place that you would choose the best coffee?
San Diego. San Diego, absolutely. They have so many coffee shops just in walking distance, but they have a few there that were really memorable to me. There was one in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was awesome. Los Angeles has great coffee. Philadelphia is a wealth of coffee shop as well. I mean, all over. Dallas has a great one. You know, it's been nice to go to all these different ones and to see what they're about.
So, any other significant cultural experiences you've had outside of the states or around the U.S., like outside of like trying different types of coffee? Maybe something you were surprised about in a certain state or country?
Surprised about, it wasn't coffee, was the street tacos that I had in Tijuana. They had, you know, we performed at Arena de Tijuana, and on top of the roof, they had hired somebody to come in and do, you know, private street tacos. And I was hesitant to eat these because I'm like, man, this is not going to end well. But wow, was that a just burst of cultural flavor that I did not expect. And it was fantastic. I think I had like 6 of them, to be honest with you. And tremendous. I wouldn't have the coffee in Mexico because I didn't want to have anything that had water in it. I just wanted to avoid it.
Makes sense. So let's see. Do you have any bucket list travel places that you want to go that you haven't been to yet?
Japan, London. Those are the top 2, I would say. Japan and London. Italy. But in terms of wrestling, it would be Japan and London.
Yeah, Japan has a big wrestling scene. That's something that you'd maybe consider in the future?
Let's just say it's more than a consideration, and I can leave it at that.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. So what are your hobbies outside of wrestling?
You know, outside of wrestling, it's very much what I give to you on screen. It's going to coffee shops. It's experimenting with that. It's a lot of fitness. You know, it's going to the gym. I'm a very disciplined individual, you know, outside the ring because I take this so serious. You know, like I said, I do enjoy my red wine. I do enjoy frequenting, you know, establishments such as that. But, you know, for the most part, you know, I keep it pretty dedicated, and I keep it pretty narrow vision for the most part.
So you're on the road a lot. Do you listen to a lot of like podcasts ever? Or what are some interesting ones if you do that you like?
Well, every now and again, I'll divulge into something different. Maybe listen to a celebrity's experiences. You know, I just recently listened to a podcast with Johnny Manziel. Like, I like to kind of listen to different people's perspectives outside of wrestling. I'm so encapsulated by wrestling that to listen to wrestling podcasts on top of that is I do from time to time, but it's tough. It's not something I can do on a day-to-day basis. You know, I more so listen to music. I like music is a very big part of my life. So I like to get into that if I'm on the road, especially.
Yeah, I like the Jim Cornette podcast and the Eric Bischoff podcast. I feel like you're exactly the kind of wrestler Jim Cornette would love.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cornette has talked about me on his podcast numerous times. So, you know, I love Cornette. I've always had a good relationship with him, and yeah, he runs a good podcast for sure.
So it's kind of funny you brought up music because I did have that too. I assume that you listen to a lot of music. Like, who are some of the bands and singers that you like, and some of the songs that are your favorites right now?
Well, I listen to, you know, there's really nothing new at the moment that speaks to me. I do listen to a lot of Frank Sinatra and Michael Bublé. I listen to a lot of Dave Matthews Band. I listen to a lot of Tool and A Perfect Circle. It all depends on the mood that I'm in and kind of the environment that I'm in. Like, if I'm at the gym, I listen to the same Tool, A Perfect Circle playlist every single time. Every single time I go to the gym, I listen to them. If I'm on a long drive, probably give me Dave Matthews. If it's the winter, and it's I'm having a cup of coffee and it's starting to get dark out, it's probably Michael Bublé. It's all kind of a product of the environment that I'm in.
Yeah. Back in high school, some of my friends loved the Dave Matthews Band, and I wasn't a big fan of it then, but now when I listen to it, it's kind of nostalgic, so I like him too.
Oh, they're the best. And live are insane.
Are you interested in politics at all, or not so much?
Interested is a choice word. Aware. I'm more aware of politics, but not so much interested where it consumes me. But I'm very aware of everything going on.
You strike me as a free market capitalist kind of a guy.
Hey, you know what? It's I'm for. There's so many different policies and so many different ways to look at things, and the left and the right, and I just think if more people had a central idea, the country might be in a better spot. But yeah, I mean, capitalism is kind of the American dream, right?
I could kind of see you as a politician because you're like so well spoken, you understand marketing, and that's a huge part of politics.
Yeah, I'm well spoken, I'm good looking, I'm humble. It's really everything that you need to be a politician.
So let's see. I love that you kind of keep everything in the realm of marketing and stuff. Where did you come up with the name of your finisher? Did it just come to you, or somebody suggested the market crash?
Well, just so you know, the name of my finishing move is not the market crash. I'm happy to discuss this because I did have a move that was named the market crash. So I'll give them the BOD on that. My finishing move, which I defeated most recently, would be TJP on MLW TV, is the 2008.
Oh.
That is my finishing move, 2008. I want everybody to know that.
Yeah, online everywhere it says marketplace is your finisher, and I know what the move is. It's that cool move that you used on him last time, and it looks so smooth and perfect. But I did not know that was the name of it.
It's okay. Everybody learns. It's the 2008.
Where did you come up with that name?
Well, think about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The way I like to look at it is, if you're educated, you won't have to ask me. If you're uneducated, you're going to be like, 2008, is that the year you were born? And I'll just be like, yeah, dude, whatever.
Yeah, it took a second.
It could take a second. That's totally fine. Let it take a second. Let it take 10 seconds. But if it takes you like 5 minutes, then I'm like, all right, let's move on.
So, where did you come up with that finisher? I mean, it's not that uncommon of a move, but when did you decide that that's going to be your finisher?
I just started noticing how smooth it was for me. And, it's just one of those things where it felt natural, felt like the right thing to do. And, I love the move. I don't think anybody was doing it. And it's something now that people instantly gravitate towards me with. So I think that's the most important thing with a finishing move, is if it becomes synonymous with you. Once that happens, then you're off to the races.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of funny, like you're pretty serious, and even your character has kind of a serious vibe to it, but like you're low key really funny though. Like it's like a dry sense of humor.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I intentionally try and be funny. I think I just naturally maybe am. The dryness, if I am dry, I don't know. That might come from my love of The Office. Maybe that kind of sunk into my sense of humor and the way that I deliver things. But, it's one of those things where I firmly believe that pro wrestling, you have to have layers. And if you don't have layers, people are going to get sick of you pretty quickly because you always need to have a different layer, right? They get sick of one thing. And consumers they're so fickle in today's day and age. They will turn on you in a heartbeat. You know, if you don't consistently switch it up or give them something new to talk about. So you got to be serious, you got to be funny, you got to be dramatic, you got to be whatever the case may be. But wrestling is so much more than, you know, just entering the room and doing some moves.
Mm-hmm. So, have you had any interesting well, it sounds like you did in Mexico, but have you had any interesting interactions with fans? Stalkers, gifts, haters?
I've had some consumers message me and, you know, mistake their accessibility to contact me with just some erroneous requests. I won't get into the requests, but just know that there are some consumers out there who are very weird.
You know, the last person I talked to, he was a social media influencer. He told me the same thing, that his DMs, he has like a bunch of thirsty people doing making bizarre requests.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's like, what is up with these people? But they exist.
So, do you watch wrestling outside of MLW now and what you're doing?
It's so hard to. Not because I don't want to. It's just hard to find the time. There's so much wrestling. It's like, what do I watch? I watch more of the old stuff, you know, because that, to me, is it's not more entertaining. I don't want to say that. It's just something that I like to go back and watch. It's more of a, it almost cleanses me from the current state of wrestling to just go back and watch, you know, some old stuff. Because I know that the old stuff is just, it's already been done. I can just consume it, enjoy it, pick what I want to watch, and then go on from there. There's a lot of wrestling, a lot of great companies out there, a lot of you know, people who I've met along the way who I consider friends are doing great things in other companies, and that's great. So I'll keep in touch with them more or less than, you know, the actual company, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Most of what I like besides MLW is in NWA stuff. That's who do you like to watch now, like back from way back then?
I watch a lot of Randy Orton. I watch, you know, a lot of Ric Flair. I watch a lot of Rick Rude. Basically any wrestler that starts with the letter R, I watch. Just because I feel like wrestlers that their name starts with the letter R are superior. Maybe biased, I don't know, but, you know, Rick Martel. There's a few.
Let's see here. I have my questions wrote down here. It's funny because Randy Orton, I did bring him up later on, that like you guys feel kind of similar. Like you and him are both like really smooth, and like everything you do kind of matters. It feels like oh, stupid cat, get out of here, go.
Yeah, I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, you are? But yeah, everything that you and Randy Orton do, just like, it's so smooth and fluid. It's like everything matters, every action. Like, I would like to see you guys in like a tag team or something one day.
Hey, man, put that out there into the universe. I would love to team up with Randy. He's definitely the GOAT.
Yeah, I couldn't see you guys fighting because either one of y'all not as heels just feels kind of like a strange thing. Like Randy was an okay face, I guess. And I've never really seen you as a face. Have you ever been a face in wrestling?
You know, that's such a odd kind of, you know, parallel. It's like, all right, what are you? I just kind of go out there and I'm me. Right? Like it's a conundrum of, you know, heel, babyface, good guy, bad guy. I'm me. I'm pretty much just me 100% of the time. Except for not you like me or not, right? Like it's kind of up to the consumer, right? Like I know I'm not going to please everybody. I know I'm not everybody's cup of coffee, but there are consumers who love me. There's consumers who really loathe me. At the end of the day, I'm just me. So, I think it's kind of the consumers. Some consumers are products of other consumers. If they see one consumer booing me, they'll be like, well, I'm going to boo this guy too. I like this consumer. Let's boo this guy. But I'm just me. I'm just Richard.
So Cody Rhodes said recently that he thinks that like heels and faces is an outdated thing, like that he doesn't really believe in that. And it's kind of shown in AEW from week to week. Like sometimes somebody will be playing a face and sometimes somebody will be playing a heel. Do you kind of agree with that then?
More or less. A reference I like to use all the time would be Batman and Joker. And if you polled 100 people, who do you like more, the Batman or the Joker, you're probably going to get a split. Probably 50-50, to be honest with you. But if you were to talk to, the writer of Batman, the original writer of Batman, he would think that 100% of the people would like Batman and 0% of the people would like Joker. Why would you like the Joker? He's so evil. He's not like us. He's different. But people like different, right? People like that sort of character that is, they're not supposed to like him, right? It's wrong, so it feels right. And that translates to pro wrestling.
So the Dynasty team, you brought up Hammerstone earlier. So you've lost two members now, MJF, and then the other guy's name kind of eludes me, but he's out of it too. So you're down to two, and Hammerstone's going. It looks like he's going after the world title now. Is Dynasty kind of wrapping up, or do you think no?
Oh no, we definitely didn't lose Gino Medina. That's the individual whose name slipped your mind. We did lose Max, and man, Max is a founding father of the Dynasty. He's still in the Dynasty, and the way I look at it, he'll always be in the Dynasty. Gino, we fired him. He just didn't fit. I used him for the Spanish demographic. I got what I wanted out of him. Squeezed all the juice that I can. It wasn't much, and I got rid of him. The Dynasty is certainly not dead. In fact, I would say it's stronger than ever. Hammerstone and I, we are pushing the Dynasty forward. Consumers still love the Dynasty. They want more of the Dynasty. He is going for the heavyweight championship. I think that's great. I have the Caribbean championship. He thinks that's great. Who knows? Maybe we'll go for the tag team championships. It's not a priority at the moment. But we are still the Dynasty, still dynastic. That won't change.
If he was to win the world title, a Richard Holliday versus Hammerstone match, what would you think about that?
Don't even put that out there. I don't want to think about it.
Okay. Are you thinking about adding new members in then?
No,
I'm
not in recruitment mode at the moment. I was in recruitment mode when I got Gino. I wanted somebody Latino. I wanted somebody for a different demographic, like I said. But there's really nobody out there that I think can hang with Hammer and I at the moment. I thought Gino could hang, can't hang. My mistake, Am I perfect? No. Am I near perfect? Yes. So, I had to take the chance on Gino. I rolled the dice. I didn't get the numbers that I wanted.
So I guess more likely then is a Gino versus Holiday match eventually.
Yeah, I'd love to punch him square in the face. So eventually that match, I'm going to just make that match happen eventually.
Let's see. So I got a few hot topics. Feels like the View hot topics. What do you think of Sting's return? Everybody's kind of giving their opinion on it, so I figured I'd ask you.
Sting's a legend. And great move. Good marketing move for sure. I don't know what he's going to do in the ring. I don't know if he even wants to get in the ring. I don't know Sting personally, so I can't say anything like that, but he's a legend. No one will deny that.
Yeah, so many people are like, "Oh, he's too old." Da da da. I'm like, I just enjoyed the moment when I saw it. I liked it. I'm not thinking about the future, like all this other stuff. Like
Yeah.
it seems like everybody's just kind of getting caught up in, like, almost like they're the booker. Like I'm not the booker. I don't.
That's the perspective you need to have. It's just enjoy it in the moment. Too many consumers, they think they get their hands in the pot. They don't. Just enjoy the moment. If that's the only moment that they give you, enjoy it.
Yeah, he is the only. Well, he's one of the only people left from that first match I told you about: Sting, Luger, Savage, Flair, Arn Anderson, Benoit. He's one of the only few active performers left. I think he's the only one out of those 6 that still really kind of actively performs now. So
Yeah.
I have kind of an attachment to him. Did you ever meet Pat Patterson, or was he kind of somebody you haven't really had a lot of interaction with?
I never met him. No.
Have you seen a lot of his stuff or not so much?
I have. Yeah. I've never met him though.
Yeah, I've never, like I said, I kind of stick to NWA. Like I wasn't really big on WWF. So let's see. Do you have any thoughts on Impact and AEW working together?
Strategic partnerships are always welcoming. They're not risky per se. I do think that somebody usually benefits more than the other person. I'm not saying that between AEW and Impact. I just think, more often than not, typically that happens. But hey, I mean, it's a smart move. Why not? I mean, we're living in such crazy times right now that something like that is going to be interesting for the consumers. It opens up a lot of doors. I will say that.
Do you have any? Who are some people that you might like to work with in the future outside of MLW? Besides Randy Orton, we've already mentioned him.
Yeah. Besides Randy, I mean, I tell people all the time, I don't really have dream matches. I don't really have, people that I'm like, I want to work with him. I'm more of a, circumstantial kind of guy. I'm more of a, moment kind of guy. Where it's, I want to just compete in the most highly touted match of the evening, whoever that's against. I more or less let the dream matchmaking go to the consumers and, let them say, I'd love to see Richard versus this person. I'd love to see Richard pop up here and face this person. Let them have that. I'm too focused on what I'm doing within MLW to think about really anybody else.
Yeah, you sound very focused on, it's kind of like an all-consuming thing. Is it hard to like do things like dating?
Look at me. I have trouble dating.
That was funny. So let's see. Thoughts on MLW re-signing with beIN Sports?
I think it's great. They've been such a great partner with us for such a long time. They were with us since the inaugural restart, not the current restart, the inaugural restart. They've been great for us. They've opened up a lot of doors for us, and I think it's wise for us to stay on their network.
So what is the very best thing about being a professional wrestler, and what are some of the downsides?
Well, I think the best thing is that energy that you feel. I mean, you can't possibly replicate that feeling in any other facet of life other than going through that curtain and being in front of the consumers. It really is something that not a lot of people will ever experience. The downsides of it is, it's a full commitment, but I'm not so sure it's a downside. I think anything in life that you want to be successful at, you kind of have to understand that you got to fully commit to it. So, some people who maybe they aren't as, self-motivated or driven as guys like myself, Hammerstone, then they might look at it as a downside, like, oh, I got to work out. I got to diet. I got to I got to drive 4 hours to go to the show. I got to hop on a flight and go cross country to, wrestle for 12 minutes. I mean, it's, it's all how you look at it. It's all perception. It's, if you think it's negative, it's probably negative. If you view it as a positive, you'll be all right.
Yeah. What are some of your future goals outside of, we mentioned Japan and a few other things? Like, do you have any big goals that you're working towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal for me is continuous progression. Like, that's always my goal, just continuous progression. And continuous progression could be, day by day, could be year by year. But as long as I have continuous progression and no steps are taken backwards, that's always my goal. There's so many things within MLW that I'd like to do. MLW heavyweight champion. I want MLW to run another pay-per-view, and I want to main event it. I want MLW to run a show in London. I want to be part of that. I just want MLW to grow, and I want myself to grow with it. Outside of those walls, again, like I said, I just re-signed with them. I'm part of that company. It'd be unwise to look past that or through that.
So back to a few more hot topics. The independent contractors controversy with WWE. Andrew Yang's kind of stepped in and made some comments about it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't really read too much up on it. I think the wrestling business has kind of been in one lane for so long in terms of, independent contractor, employee, whatever the case may be. I don't know if it'll change. If it does, I don't know. Just let me know what's going on. At the end of the day, it's not like there's a board that's deciding these things. It's not like professional wrestling is like an actual entity. It's an industry. So, people will have their own choices to make. So I don't know. I can't really speak any more past that.
Do you have any thoughts on the WWE banning their workers from being on Twitch and other social media sites?
My thought on that is, are they limiting the amount of money that their performers can make? Yeah, possibly. But, are they just, you have to look at it from their perspective. It's always important to get both sides of the story. There has to be a reason why they don't want them on these platforms. I don't know that reason. It might not even be a good reason, but they probably have a reason. And until I hear their reason and can make an educated decision based upon their reason, then I can give my actual opinion. As of right now, it just seems like a lot of people are upset that they can't do those platforms.
Yeah. So we did a few plugs earlier. Is there anything else we need to plug? Any of your social media? Anything that you have coming up?
Just follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @mostmarketable. That's same handle for both platforms. Go to MLWshop.com. Get yourself a Rarefied Air t-shirt. I promise you it will make you more good looking. Not in the face, but definitely in the torso. And, go get my Dynasty coffee mug. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com, search Richard Holliday. I have a couple designs up on there as well. It's Christmas time. It's the holidays. You should be getting a Richard Holliday shirt around the holidays. It only makes sense.
Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for working through the technical difficulties we had earlier and for being so accessible. You're just really easy to talk to. And it's been a good experience. So thank you for coming on. And I'll send you a link whenever I get this edited and get it up. If you want to share it, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, man, please. I know you contacted me on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat.
Make it Twitter. I will say that. But yeah, you throw this up on Instagram, tag me. I'll get that shared. Facebook, same thing.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. Any last words?
That's it, my friend. Hey, you're breathing rarefied air.
Thanks, Richard.